Topping today's news, the member of parliament accused of rape turns himself into police for questioning. The government considering a new parole act. The national security minister critical of parents claiming good sons and daughters known to be criminals. And the government reconsidering corporal punishment in schools. I'm Jcn. This is your Jcn Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. Progressive Liberal Party Member of Parliament for North Abaco, 48-year-old Kurt Cornish, turned himself into the police on Grand Bahama on Thursday afternoon. Police reported that around 5:25 p.m., the Member of Parliament for Cooperstown, Abaco, turned himself into police custody, accompanied by his lawyer, and noted that investigations are ongoing. Police did not say what those investigations were related to. However, earlier this month, an alleged ex-girlfriend of the Member of Parliament reported to police on Grand Bahama that a sitting Member of Parliament had raped, choked, struck, and made death threats against her and her family. On Monday, Police Commissioner Clayton Fernando told reporters that an MP accused of rape would be called in for questioning before the end of the week, noting that police take all matters that come before them seriously. Just last week, Member of Parliament Cornish was asked by reporters outside the Parliament if he had any comments about the allegations of rape against a sitting MP, and he responded with absolutely no comment. Reports are that Mr. Cornish was released from police custody late on Thursday evening. With an increase in sexual and violent crimes against women, there are questions as to whether the government is dragging its feet with construction of a $500,000 women's safe house. Just last week, F&M Senator Maxine Seymour accused the Davis administration of putting the protection of women and children on the back burner. When asked for an update on the construction, Press Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Clint Watson, could not give a concrete answer, but says the consultation stage is still ongoing.
Minister of Social Services, Obi Wilscombe, is having carriage of that project. We have not received an update on it. At the last time we were spoken to him, they were in the consultation to see how best to set it up, given, as you can imagine, the concerns regarding security and safety and all of that. But he has not updated us or cabinet on that as yet. It is a priority of the government to address these issues. If you notice, the legislation coming to, that are going to be set to come to Parliament speaks to the security of our women and children. Prime Minister has gone on record a number of times that that is priority for him. And you're going to see that step up because, as you know, Prime Minister, if something is a priority and he feels as though there's not enough being done, there's going to be some pressure put on that. Rest assured, though, that you will see in this administration some changes and some not just legislation, but steps taken to ensure the protection of women and children in a more tangible way.
Now, there has also been concerns as to whether the funds allotted for this project is enough for the number of women in the Bahamas in need of this type of service. Mr. Watson says that funds allocated does not equal the cost of the project.
Money allocated doesn't mean that's the cost of it. Money allocated is what can be budgeted at this time. Whatever the cost is derived, you now partner with, that, and to me, that should be easier, being able to get partners to come forward with donations, because as you see, it's a widespread concern. So I would hope that with the widespread concern, the business community and civic organizations and the public will come forward when it's time to rally to the call to put this facility in place if there's a shortfall to help make up the shortfall. But government allocation of funds by no means mean this is what it will cost. It just means this is what is allocated to be able to get the project going and started. And hopefully outreach programs will partner with government to be able to make sure the facility comes to fruition, as has been so many other projects that government has done in partnership with the community.
Mr. Watson believes in light of the deep concerns for this issue, the community will answer the call for financial support.
And more importantly, we hope to shortly introduce for consultation a parole act. When you go to prison now, you get 4 months off for good behavior. So if you are sentenced to 12 months, you only serve 8 months. When you come out on day one, you can commit an offense and you never serve the 4 months that you were given off. We intend to change that.
That's National Security Minister Wayne Munroe speaking to the government's plan to introduce a parole act that would have the effect of holding convicts accountable for the entirety of their court-given sentences. This act, according to the minister, would do away with reduced sentences for good behavior and ensure the entire sentence is completed.
We intend to make it clear that you will serve your sentence, some in the correctional institution, some in the community. But you will be held accountable for your actions completely. And for the persons who need punishment but may not need incarceration, technology permits us to impose a sentence where you only get to go to work and to church and the food store once, and other than that, you stay home to serve a sentence in the community. And so we are very serious about this. As I say, the Prime Minister's favorite 2 points: prevention, rehabilitation. Those are the ones that we will be pouring our greatest effort in while we address them all.
Minister Munroe goes on to say that there are concerns about a pattern where men enter prison at a young age for minor crimes but are recruited by gangs who offer protection and support while behind bars.
I go to prison. I'm a young man. Everyone has these excited thoughts about I'm going to be raped in prison, which is a silly thing to want to happen, because when that person comes back out, might he decide that he wants to rape some people. But a young man goes up with thoughts of I'm going to be raped. The prison conditions are bad. So a drug lord, a gang leader, gets him and says, I'm going to make sure nobody fools with you. I'm going to make sure you get water. I'm going to make sure you get some money on your commissary. I'm going to make sure when I smuggle some dope into prison, because that happens, as you have seen, I'm going to give you some. That young man is coming out in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And when he comes out, he wasn't riding any gang when he went in. When he comes out, he may well and most likely will be riding a gang.
Mr. Munroe says that no gang should be assuring any person in prison of their safety or comfort. The Parole Act would facilitate sentences to keep some offenders out of jail and prevent them from joining gangs. Minister of National Security Wayne Munroe is also criticizing parents who turn a blind eye to their children's criminal history. In light of the increase in murders over the past few weeks, Minister Munroe, while appearing as a guest speaker at the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing, outlined the government's crime-fighting plan Envision 2040. He says everyone is a good daughter or a good son when they are born, but at some point there is a journey from them being an innocent child to them becoming cold-blooded killers and criminals.
We always hear mothers and fathers saying their good son was just murdered, regardless of if he's on bail for 6 murders, 5 murders, 4 murders, or in the case of one of the latest victims, 1 murder and the attempted murder of a policeman. Well, life is simply like this. Everyone is a good son when he is born. Everyone is a good daughter when he is born. Our experiences in this country shows us that somewhere from birth to about 14, 15, some of our young men particularly adopt the mindset that they are willing to drive around, walk around with high-powered guns and handguns and have no compunction shooting someone in their head 2 or 3 times, about the body multiple times.
Minister Munroe goes on to mention some of the initiatives the Davis administration, the police force, and churches have put in place to combat the journey from innocent child to criminal.
The government has its programs. So for instance, if you were to look in the policy speech presented, we have a number of them. We have Students Against Negative Decisions. which relates to positive peer interactions. We have just adolescent mentorship movement. And what we have done most recently, we have the urban renewal band, we have rangers, we have police cadets. What we've had to do recently, following younger and younger people being charged with murder down to as low as 15 and 16, we've had to implement an intervention program in the primary school. And that is the HYPE program, helping young people excel. Because it is too late to intervene in junior and senior school if young men have adopted the mindset to kill by the time they are 15 and 16.
The minister also encourages parents to be positively involved in their children's lives and report any suspicious activity that they may notice along the way.
If you know your son has come home with a car that he couldn't possibly have bought, you have a duty not to talk about your good son when he is gunned down in the street, but to call the police. When you know your son has a firearm or your daughter is hiding a firearm for someone, it is your job to call the police. And the Commissioner of Police and Chief Superintendent Skippings has made it clear. When you do not, you endanger yourself as well as your child. Because when they come for your child, you may be right there. It is much better for you to advise the police, my child has a car, think it's stolen, my child has a gun, than to have to show up at the morgue to identify your child.
Minister Monroe says this effort must be a collective one, as only villages can raise children. In a press release by the Bahamas Information Services on Thursday, April 27th, police are reporting a decline in murders and overall crime in the northern Bahamas, particularly on Grand Bahama, so far for 2023. The release said current statistics from the Royal Bahamas Police Force for Grand Bahama reveal that murder levels are down 33% compared to the same period last year. The statistics represent Grand Bahama, Abaco, and Bimini for the period January 1st through April 23rd. The statistics compared figures from 2022 and 2023 in various categories, including crime against the person and crime against properties. For crime against the person, there were only 2 murders reported in Grand Bahama for the time period compared to 3 last year, while attempted murder saw a 400% increase, with 5 reported for the same period compared to 2022. Police also reporting a 50% decline in rape cases, from 4 in 2022 to 2 this year. Unlawful sex crimes also saw a reduction of 22%. As it relates to armed robbery in the northern Bahamas, police are reporting a 50% decline thus far this year, with no armed robberies reported for the period January 1st to April 23rd. The release also touted a reduction in crime against properties, housebreaking, shopbreaking, and stealing. However, burglary had a 50% increase, with 3 cases reported to the police compared to just 2 during the same time period last year. Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernanda, during a recent press briefing, noted that crime in the Bahamas overall fell by 28% compared to the same period in 2022. And finally, in this segment, another major announcement for healthcare services in the nation's second city, as groundbreaking for a new hospital in Freeport, Grand Bahama is set for May 16th. Revealing this long-awaited news was Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville.
Well, hey, listen here, we've been working for the last 17 months on this project. The residents of Grand Bahama, we promised in our Blueprint for Change on page A that we would construct a new state-of-the-art facility. After what happened with Hurricane Dorian and the flooding at the Rand Memorial Hospital, a decision was made by this administration to go to a new greenfield site to construct this new facility. I'm pleased to report to the media that, God willing, on the 16th of May, we will be doing the groundbreaking for phase 1 of that facility.
On the sidelines of the 67th Annual Health Research Conference for CARFA, the health minister said the state-of-the-art facility will be constructed in 2 phases.
That particular Medical Hospital has two phases. Phase 1 will give us the urgent care facility that we need to subsidize what is going at the Rand Memorial Hospital, while Phase 2 is the building of our multi-story tower that will encompass many of the other needed services in Grand Bahama. And when that is completed, the Rand Memorial Hospital will be downgraded to a secondary facility where we will provide strictly psychiatric and geriatric care, and we will utilize those theaters as same-day surgery. So I'm excited about our long-term plan, where we're going. But in our short-term plan, when I go on the 16th, you will see the work that I've done to prepare the Rand Memorial Hospital for the hurricane season. I have some new modular units that will finally decompress the triaging services that are currently taking place outside of the accident emergency at the Rand Memorial Hospital.
That was Dr. Michael Dowell, Minister of Health and Wellness. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.